Anyone got a pencil? Hello and welcome to the Mixtape podcast. My name's Mark and I am your host. Thank you so much for tuning in for this week's episode. Every week on the show, I ask my guests to make up an imaginary mixtape and pick 6 tracks for it. I've had some incredible chats. They're already there in the archives, just waiting for you to stumble across them. I've had chats with Steve Kilby from The Church, Rowetta from The Happy Mondays, Rick from Ash. I've had Al Anderson, one of the original Wailers. I've had Clint Boone from Your Spiral Carpets. I've had Donita Sparks from L7. I've had Scott Kirkland from The Crystal Method. There's lots and lots of episodes sitting there waiting for you to discover. If you enjoy this week's episode, please feel free to rate it 5 stars on Spotify and or jump up to the top of the page and hit that old follow or subscribe button, and you'll be notified every time there is a new episode. Catch up with everything I'm doing by going to www.themixtapepodcast.com. That's enough for the intro. I hope you enjoy this week's episode. Let's do the proper intro and then we can talk about it. We can talk about it properly. Welcome to this week's Mixtape show. Fin Greenall, thanks so much for coming on the show. Welcome, mate.
It's a pleasure, man. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. So your new record's just come out, the Lowswing Sessions. It's one I've been enjoying and playing on the show a bit tonight. Just for anyone who's not familiar, just give us a bit of background on Lowswing Sessions, their sort of methods and what attracted you to that way of recording.
Well, yeah, I mean, Lowswing is this record label here in Berlin, and they're like specialize in like that audiophile market, which is a new word to me and a new market to me as well. But there are guys and girls out there that will spend 50 grand on an amp and 20 grand on a turntable, and instead of buying a car, they'll buy a set of speakers. I imagine most of them are single, but in this scene, they are all about purity. So that Lowswing Records is a label that specializes in this scene. So there's no computer, there's no tracking, there's no Pro Tools, there's nothing. It's all analog. It's straight through the desk, straight to tape. And then the tape gets mastered at Abbey Road and cut at Air Studios. So it's all as literally as audiophile as possible. With that in mind, it means that it's crazy expensive to make these records, and the cost is reflected in that. Yeah. But it's like I'm not anyone who knows anything about my music knows that I'm not a purist when it comes to sound. I'm definitely a finisher. I'm definitely a bash it out, get it done type of an artist. Yeah. And that's why I've done so many records. You have to park your perfectionism at the door if you want to finish a record, basically. But on this one, there's a bass player on this called Tim Lefebvre, who I really love, and he was Bowie's bass player on the Black Star album. He's also played bass for Tedeschi Truckers, whole load of jazz guys. And me and Tim have been circling each other for years. Like we're big fans of each other. He's seen me at some gigs, I've seen him at some gigs, and we just think there's a bromance going on. And so my friend Guy, who owns Lowswing Records, was like, dude, I reckon I can get Tim Lefebvre and you in a room. All you got to do is pick a bunch of covers. Well, originally Guy said, can you write 8 new tracks? And I'm like, well, that's a new Fink album, so no. But I can do covers. We can come up with some interesting covers. So we did. And I guess the nice thing is that the Lowswing guys let me put 2 on Spotify, which is the first time, and Apple and other streaming sites. That's the first time they've ever let anyone do that, because it's digital, which is a dirty word, like these analog guys.
Absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, that's how it came about, and so it was a weekend of fun with a really hot session band and straight to tape, all live, no overdubs. A few BVs we recorded later, but that's it. It's all legit, all live.
Yeah. I was buzzing, first of all, when I saw your post about like it coming to be and you were going to be recording it. And then when I saw you posted a couple of Spotify links, I was already invested. I was already like, I'm getting this record as soon as it comes out because I want to hear these, because I know that Lowswing don't, you're never going to get it on the streaming platforms. So I'm invested straight away. And when I saw that you'd put Modern Love, the Bowie cover, and the Soundgarden and Black Hole Sun, I was just blown away. And I'll probably cut this out, but the day I heard Modern Love, the day I broke up with my girlfriend, and I was just sitting there just like,
that's so sad.
Yeah, but but that I buzz off that. I love that. Do you know what I mean? It made me feel better.
Yeah.
Just playing it on repeat for like 4 hours just made me feel so much better. You know how it is. But honestly, mate, incredible interpretation. I mean, we talk a lot on the mixtape about cover versions and what makes a good one, and that kind of thing. And Bowie is one of those artists. I think if you're going to cover Bowie, you really got to bring it. Do you know what I mean? And that the way
Yeah.
you brought your own sound and to that track is just incredible. There's some fantastic covers on there. I've been listening to that Little Feat track since I was about
Oh, that was
18.
hard.
I
Yeah, that was a
absolutely
hard
love
one. Yeah.
that track. I really love that track. Yeah, and like I say, so the Smith track, which I played on the show tonight, what difference
Nice.
does it make? Yeah, some incredible tracks on there. And even to my sort of tinnitus ravaged ears, I could hear the quality in that recording. Do you know what I mean?
It
Like,
is.
I've got
It's
a
top.
$400 turntable and a $300 set of speakers and a $200 amp or whatever, and even I could hear the quality in that recording. It sounds so good.
And I mean,
Yeah.
you really can. I mean, there's something about that retro vibe
Mm.
and going through desk to tape. I mean, it's the most expensive way of recording imaginable, but I mean, you also have to be, as a band, you can't spend, like, it's not like Get Back, that Beatles documentary. You don't have a month of tape. You got like 3 tapes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we got to get all 8 tracks onto these
Mhm.
tapes. And so you can't do 10. We'll keep re-recording over it until
Mhm.
you get it
Yeah.
right. It's not like
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
can
Right.
save something or splice something. It was
Yeah.
really intense, but this is what really informed the covers that I chose to do, because I need to pick covers that were inside me. So it's
Mhm.
not necessarily my favorite tracks of all time. It's just the tracks that, like the Modern Love by David Bowie and What Difference Does It Make by the Smiths. I mean, Modern Love is by far definitely not my favorite Bowie track, of course,
Mhm.
but it's just that because I was a kid when I was listening to this track, it's just in my DNA, that track.
Mhm.
So, and same with that Smiths track. So I needed to have something where I wasn't going to forget what the melody is or forget what the words are. And I went through loads of 80s tracks to think, okay, maybe I should do Nick Kershaw, or maybe I should do,
Don't tease
like,
me with what could have been. Don't tease me with what
all
could have
these
been.
massive
Yeah.
Simple Minds, or Don't You Forget About Me, or something like that, where I know it, even though might not
Yeah.
want to know it. I know it
Yeah.
inside out. But yeah, which is how we landed on Muddy Waters and
Mhm.
David Bowie on Modern Love and the Smiths. What difference does it make? And Soundgarden was actually Guy Sternberg, the producer's pick. He was like, dude, listen, I really want you to do this Little Feat track for personal reasons. And I'm like, okay, well, we'll do that. And he was
Mhm.
like, I really want you to do, I think you could nail this Soundgarden track. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't really know. I've never been a big Soundgarden fan. Anyway, that's all changed now.
Mhm.
It's an
Yeah.
amazing song. I can't wait to play it live. It's definitely going in the set.
Yeah.
It's such a great song, and it plays itself. And you can, like, I could just play that all weekend. It was such a delight. So, and then did a couple of Mind Short, and then
Mhm. Yeah.
me and Tim Lefebvre's really into drum and bass, and I'm really into drum and bass,
Mhm.
and so we did a Ronnie Size kind of mashup, kind of cover, kind of
Yeah.
Fink mash
Mhm.
remix, which was
Yeah.
kind of fun.
The first
Um,
thing I thought of when I played that Q&A track was Ronnie Size. It was the first thing that came into my head.
yeah.
Yeah, I played that on the show tonight. Yeah,
Wow.
fantastic track. Yeah, really good one. I really enjoyed that.
I
Really
mean, and
enjoyed that.
it's live as well. So the
Mm,
fact that it's live is just. I mean, it's almost easy for me to sing it.
mm,
I mean, the
yeah,
drummer and the bass player, Earl Harvin and Tim Lefebvre, that was live, and it's like, wow,
yeah.
you guys can
Wow,
just play that. That's crazy.
that's unreal.
So I was stepping into a room with some real big dogs. So
Mm,
I definitely wanted to bring my
mm,
A covers game,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I don't know how I fell into that Modern Love cover. I mean, the chords are decided for you, and the song is
Mm,
written for you. But I think I was just, well, I remember I was doing a soundtrack for a computer for a video game, and
mm,
this Lowswing session was looming, and the deadline for this game was looming, and I had to kind of like, dude, you need to like do something soon,
mm,
otherwise gonna be gonna be a 3 chord trick blues record. So, what are you gonna do? And I
yeah.
think that little pattern, that beautiful folky pattern, just presented itself
Mm,
to me.
mm,
Similarly for the other cover, for the Smiths cover, it's a
mm,
similar vibe of like,
mm,
this is a really nice riff. This is giving me vibes.
yeah.
But yeah, that Soundgarden cover came out really banging. I'm super
Mm.
chuffed with that.
Yeah, yeah, and I was stoked with that as well. And if you're listening to this on the podcast, what I normally say is there'll be a link to tracks that we're talking about in the description. Obviously, for this case, there'll only be two, It'll only be the Soundgarden track and the Bowie track, because I can't include the actual music in the podcast. On the radio show, I'll drop the tracks in between, but on the podcast, I can't include the music because obviously it's licensed. So what I do is make up a Spotify playlist with all your mixtape choices as well, and then we drop that in the description and on the YouTube channel as well. So if you're listening, you can drop out and listen to that amazing Bowie cover as well. I wanted to talk to you about covers as well. I know we've covered it a bit already, but you first came on my sort of radar a good long time ago. A friend of my ex-wife's showed me your version of All Cried Out.
Oh,
Love
right.
that slide bluesy sort of smooth version. It's incredible, and yeah, that sort of drew me into, you know, Distance and Time and those early records. Yeah, If Only, that's another heartbreaker, mate. I've been smashing that all week as well.
I mean, that's
That is
definitely
a
one for the
tune, mate. That
broken-hearted,
is.
that one. Yeah, for
Oh
sure.
my
I
God.
mean,
If
I
Only.
wrote that on I wrote that on a train, and you know, I wrote that on a train in a really heartbroken state. Took me 40
Mm,
minutes, and
mm,
you know, yeah, covers, man. I mean, the Alison Moyet cover is interesting because I was in a pub in Brighton where I lived at the time with an old friend of mine, and it's one of those moments where you walk into a pub and you just want a quiet pint, and it's a bloody pub quiz going down, and you're like, oh man, all the nights to come
yeah,
into this pub for a quiet one, it's a bloody
yeah.
pub quiz going on.
Mm,
And it was a music round, and and he played the original, and something clicked to me that just went, actually, that's
mm,
pretty straight blues, that track. Actually,
mm,
I could probably cover that because
mm,
it's a couple of chords and it's kind of got a blues underlay to it. I reckon I could do it. And I
mm.
did it, and I got a lot of hate for it, funnily enough, from Alison Moyet fans when I
Oh,
dropped it.
true. Okay.
Even though and a lot of people don't even know it's a cover, but I mean, the ones that
Yeah,
Alison
yeah,
Moyet
yeah.
fans were like, how dare you, you know, sully her name with such a
What?
trite cover and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, hey, listen, I'm just singing songs. I
Mm,
don't mean
yeah,
to offend anyone. And then Alison Moyet got involved. She stepped into the ring. She broke
oh, true.
cover. It's like, hey, come on, everybody, look. Actually, I quite like it. And
Yeah,
she said
yeah.
that after like that was a big hit for her, All Cried
Mm,
Out in the
mm,
80s. And she sung
mm,
it 1,000 times. And by the
mm.
end of it, she hated it and
Yeah,
never wanted to sing it again. I can
yeah,
totally relate to that.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then and then she heard this cover because someone had sent it to her going like, don't you think this is awful? Rah, rah. And she was like, oh, actually, I
No, it's
love it
awesome.
now. I love the song again because it's like,
Yeah.
oh, right, I can hear it in a different
Mm,
way. And
mm.
that made me, and that was at the very early part of my career. So it made me
Yeah,
feel
yeah,
really lovely that. And
yeah, yeah.
at that point, first album, back then, I think times have changed a lot now, but this was in 2005, 6. It was like you're booked to play. If you're doing well and all of a sudden you're headlining your own shows, even if it's just 200 people or 300 people or something, your album's only 40 minutes long and you're booked for an hour. So what you can't play
Yeah,
it twice.
exactly right.
So
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and this is where the punks come in because the punk albums are only like 28 minutes long and they're booked for an hour, so they literally could play it twice.
Yeah,
So you fill your set with covers and you have a
yeah.
cover for the encore because you want the
Mm,
fans to feel
mm.
familiar with something.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
we would do like John Martin, we did a Kraftwerk cover of The Model. We had a bunch of covers in our arsenal in those early
Mm,
days, just wheel them out, and
mm.
we would do a remix for someone, right? We'll do a cover of that. Oh, well, there's a current song over there. Let's do a cover of that. I mean, nothing was off the table at that point. So
Mm.
yeah, we used to do quite a lot of covers on the first
Yeah.
couple of tours.
It's funny you mentioned The Model, because the band who are on the Mixtape radio show tonight, they picked Big Black, Steve Albini's band. They did a cover of The Model, and that was their cover version. That's mad. You just mentioned
Nice,
that cover.
nice.
I wanted to talk to you very quickly as well before we drop into the mixtape tracks about Warm Shadow, and it featuring. I heard it in The Walking Dead a few years
Nice.
back, and I know it's recently been in True Detective, which are two of my
Yeah.
favourite TV shows. Like, for anyone who's not familiar with Warm Shadow, when I listen to it, I think shit's going to go down here. Something bad's going to happen here. Like, it's just got that
Exactly. That's why
atmospheric
it gets
sort of
licensed.
vibe about it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm looking over my shoulder for zombies and shit every time I hear it. Yeah. How does that come about? Like, did they approach you with asking for permission, and how, do you get a buzz out of that when you watch TV show? I know you're a fan of True Detective yourself. So it
Yeah,
must be a
man. I mean,
nice.
I'm a, you know, When you're not a fan of the show, it doesn't matter. So, it's just a simple, they send you a brief. Are you okay with it? So and so is talking to so and so in a bar and they reveal that so and so once met
Mm,
so and so, and you kind of go, yeah, man, that's fine. How
mm,
much? Yeah, fine, you do it.
mm, yeah.
But Walking Dead was a real journey because they had this mega scene, this massive
Mm,
pivotal crossroads in the season type of a moment.
mm,
And it was a massive, like 8-minute license they wanted. And it's a big thing. So they sort of said, would you have a problem if we get someone to cover Warm Shadow? And I'm like, I was a bit like, well, why don't you just use mine? But I thought, well, you
mm,
know what? It's a big license. Yeah,
mm,
as long as it's not rubbish, I'll be all
mm,
right with that.
yeah.
And they were talking about Bon Iver. So Bon
Oh,
Iver did a cover of it with
no
Colin
way.
Stetson, right?
I'd love to
Backstage
hear
one night.
that.
It's out there. You can find
Oh, is
it.
it? Oh,
It's brilliant. It's
yeah.
brilliant. It's
Mm,
Bon Iver. It's brilliant.
mm,
And it ended up not using that, and then said, "Oh, actually, maybe sheepishly, oh, actually, we can we use yours instead?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you can use mine. That's fine." And so when they used it, because I wasn't watching Walking Dead, the synopsis I didn't really care about when they sort of said so and so meet so and so, and they discuss, and I'm
mm,
like, yeah, whatever. But in fast forward a few years, I got a
mm,
license on a series called Better Call Saul that I
yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
utterly riveted
Mm,
to at that
mm,
point. And of course, this episode hasn't aired yet. It's like
mm,
5 episodes ahead of me.
mm.
And I got the call in saying, "Oh, Finn, I think we might have a track on Better Call Saul." And I'm like, "You've got to redact the synopsis because I don't want to know. I don't. You can't give me any detail because then
Mm,
it'll blow the whole series." So I
mm.
got the synopsis through, blacked out like some FBI report, saying like
Yeah,
blank is blanking blank and then blank blank. Yeah, great. I love it.
yeah, love
There's
it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
great, man. They act as
Mm,
radio for me. I don't really
mm.
get
Yeah,
American
yeah,
mainstream radio. I also don't get Triple J. So I
yeah.
don't get any
Right. Okay.
Australian radio
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
listening radio to speak
yeah.
of either. So the syncs kind of get me into
Mm,
people's ears in a different
yeah,
way. And
yeah, yeah,
it's like it's been amazing for me in America because it means
yeah.
I can tour America without needing a radio hit, which is quite
Mm,
a rare
yeah,
vibe, and
yeah,
I
yeah.
really like that. But I mean, I haven't seen the True Detective season 4 yet, but I've seen the scene. But
I've got
luckily, it
one
doesn't.
episode. I've got one episode left. I've got to watch the last one. But yeah, it's very
Oh,
good. Yeah, it's very good.
I do love that series. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, I get a lot of licenses on series that I don't watch. I don't have a
yeah.
TV, so I don't really
Right,
watch a
okay.
lot of
Yeah,
series.
yeah.
But and Walking Dead, I stopped watching because it was just so relentlessly depressing. I thought there's no happy ending here. Like when
It's
there
still
was a
going.
hint,
There's about three
I mean,
offshoot
you know what I
series
mean?
now
I
as well. I
mean,
don't bother with them. Yeah, yeah.
there was a little hint there where they were going to find a magic pill, or they were going to find a cure, and then it was turned out to be rubbish. And I'm like,
Mm.
I can't invest any more time in this. It's just there's no
Same.
happy endings. Everyone's going to die and be killed by a zombie at some point. So
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
out. Syncs are a way. If you're a young band, they can
Mm,
dig you out of a big hole, and
mm,
they dug us out of a hole. We had this track
mm,
called This Is the Thing,"
mm,
and that was in 2007, and we were so in debt and so indentured to our record company at this point, and the Sync dug us out of the hole, which was
mm,
great because
mm,
it's very easy for bands to spend money trying to get bigger, and it's not an immediate thing. It can take a
mm,
couple of albums to get bigger, but
mm.
the debt is a now thing, and
Yeah.
oh, it's tough to work for nothing. Even if you love it, you still have to pay rent, you still have to go to Asda, and it was tough. And the licenses have kept us afloat in the early
Mm,
days. Otherwise, we
yeah.
probably would have gone on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I remember hearing an interview with Davy Gray, and he was talking about recording White Ladder, and he was saying like literally we were arguing about whether we're going to buy this lead or not, whether we had enough
Right.
money. But like while he was recording White Ladder, they were so sort of tight financially, and then obviously he put the album out, and you know
Doesn't matter
that
now.
was it. Like
Yeah.
yeah, that's it. Okay, Finn, let's move into your mixtape choices, mate. Yeah, okay. So for track one, whenever I make up a mixtape or a playlist, or even like tonight when I do the radio show, track one's always a bit of an attention grabber, something to kick it off in fine style. And for your track one, you chose a Radiohead track.
Of course. I mean, I
Yes.
could have chosen 6 Radiohead tracks for
Mm,
this mixtape, but
mm,
that's just because I'm a bit of a fanboy right now.
yeah.
I chose a track called Idiotech
Mm,
for a number of reasons. One, It's wide open, super inclusive track. It's electro, it's electronica, it's indie, it's rock, it's everything in one track. And two, that's got really it opens your ears straight away to a kind of a middle path between all of these genres. And I remember playing that on White Label when I was a DJ, and I opened this club called 93 Feet East in Hoxton, um, in London, and I played it there, and so and it blew, and it was really interesting because I was playing an indie band at a club night, which back in the late 90s was not that common, very risky thing to do, and that's where my love of Radiohead began, was in a way with this track, sort of interpreting it as an electronic track, whereas really it's just, I don't know, I dare you to not like it. It's
No,
very difficult not to
I
like
think
that track.
it's a good. That's not like, I think a lot of people, when that album came out, there was so much expectation. Like, how are they going to
Yeah,
follow up OK Computer? Because it was such an opus, and it was only just like an opus. It had, like, the Karma Police, and the singles on it as well were massive.
yeah, yeah.
And today's not really, doesn't really have, like, singles on it. But that track is like, that's, I think, I hate the phrase, but it's the most accessible track, I think, on the album. It's a great one for the treadmill. It's a track that it's okay for people who are into electronic music to like, and it's okay for people who are into indie to like it. It just, yeah, it brings people together, I think, that way, and it's a great track for that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
brings people together. And the Radiohead taught everybody, how do you follow up a massive record? You don't. That's the answer.
don't
Don't.
even bother trying.
You make
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
either you make the same record again, which is going to
Mm,
disappoint everyone, including yourself,
mm,
or you don't, which is great. And you might disappoint a few fans that want you to make the same record, but it doesn't matter.
yeah, yeah.
You're making records for yourself. If you stop doing that, then you're an employee all of a
Mm,
sudden,
yeah,
but
yeah.
as long as you're making records for yourself, you're the boss, and that's a better
Exactly right.
place to be.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And track two, Finn, is a song that you
Yes.
sing when you're on your own in the car or the shower. And
Okay.
you chose the great Smiths.
Great. I chose Panic.
Yes, you
Yes.
did. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I choose Panic. I should put that on a t-shirt, really. I choose Panic because I think Morrissey is so underrated, as a lyricist, as a poet, as a writer, as a cultural moment in himself, as a human cultural exhibit. I think he's incredibly underrated. And yes, just like a lot of people who are very complicated, they also have complicated political views that are
Mm,
difficult to deal with in the modern world where every view is
yeah.
known. And but moving that aside and just taking him on his art, anyone that listened to the Smiths at the time was aware that this was music the likes of which they've never heard before, and it's music that's impossible to copy, and we've never had another Smiths.
No.
So in that regard, I think the Smiths, even though they are worshipped, we even though the Smiths are worshipped by us and a lot of other people, they're not worshipped by enough people, in my opinion. There should be a statue of them in Manchester. Well, there might be, actually, I don't know. So I chose Panic because Morrissey is talking about how the radio DJs at the time were playing music that said nothing about his life. And I
That's my
found that
favorite
really,
lyric. That's
it's
my favorite
brilliant. And I
lyric.
was
Yeah.
and I was like a radio listener at that time myself, and I had the same feeling that Morrissey was having. And so I had this moment with Panic where the musician was talking directly to me about my experience of listening to the radio while listening to the radio, listening to his track. It was such a meta experience that
Mm,
my mind was blown 1,000 times. And
mm.
and and I also love the fact that he name checks, Birmingham and places that aren't London. And
Humberside.
hang the DJ. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Why not?
yeah,
Yeah, I just think it's an absolute masterpiece. And Johnny Marr sounds amazing, and the band sound great. And it's
yeah.
just like a kind of, I love it. Yeah.
Johnny Marr's my dream guest. If I could pick anyone, he's the one I would love to get him
Right.
on. One day I will. One day I'll get there.
Okay. Well, just just
Morrissey.
just talk about guitars.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Duly noted. I remember that. Thanks.
There you go.
Morrissey's not that popular in Perth at the moment because he came. Well, he didn't come. He had a show booked in December, just gone, and sold out within minutes. It was only a small theatre show, and he on the day he canned it. And like people of Perth, like it's not like a London show or a Manchester show or an
Probably
LA
see him
show.
again next year or something. Yeah.
No, it's going to be years. It's going to be years. So yeah, there was. I personally wasn't quick enough to get tickets, so I wasn't as disappointed as everyone else. But yeah, I remember like a week or so after, I went out in this t-shirt, and I just got dogs abuse from like 2 or 3 people. Like, oh, what are you wearing this t-shirt for? What are you, Morrissey?
But
Yeah,
listen, the Smiths isn't Morrissey,
exactly
Morrissey
right.
is not
Yeah,
the Smiths.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
I can separate the man and, like you say, and his political views and everything else from the music and the art. Like I find it quite easy to do that. I don't
yeah,
associate, and I think the NME have been after him for like dawn of time. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? With the bad press and yeah, he's only got
He said some really, controversial things, and
mm,
he's got opinions. I mean, come on,
mm,
Morrissey has
yeah,
opinions is not a news
yeah,
story. He's
yeah,
Morrissey.
yeah.
He's had opinions. If anyone that saw him on TV in the 80s,
Mm,
be ready. He's going to say something that's going to shock someone. There's no
yeah,
question
yeah,
about that. And but he's also a very early advocate for vegetarianism and a
yeah.
very early
Sure.
advocate for
Yeah,
conservationism, and some of the good stuff is lost in some of the other stuff, which are opinions he's entitled to have whatever opinion he
yeah,
wants. He's
yeah,
just don't be surprised if you voice them in public and people don't like you for it. Just be
yeah,
prepared for that. And I think
yeah,
Morrissey, there is a strain to him. The only weakness to him, his superhero artistry, is this almost like an inherent need to be loved, or a desire to be liked. He covets your adoration a little bit. You
mm,
can feel it in the Smiths. You can feel it in his own stuff, and that's his Achilles heel. And I think
mm,
that's kind of really revealing, and it almost makes you love the Smiths even more because it's
yeah,
bravado. It's not real. So
for
you
sure.
know,
I
yeah, I'm a
did
big
hold
Smith.
out. I did used to hold out hope that one day they might get back together back in the day.
Never gonna
And
happen.
I read his book. I read his book and I was like, nah, that's never going to happen, man. Not in a million years. That's not going to
I
happen.
mean, I'm sure the other boys wouldn't mind, but Johnny Marr and Morrissey, that they both have enough money, they don't have
Yeah,
to,
for
so they're
sure.
not going to,
Yeah.
I don't think, ever. If they
Oh,
did reform, I would definitely go.
yeah, that would be the biggest ticket in many a year. That would
Yeah,
see off
for
Taylor
sure.
Swift ticket prices for sure.
Definitely an older audience, but yeah, okay.
Track three, Finn, is your favourite cover version, and you picked James Blake track.
Yeah, I mean, it's not my favorite cover version, but it's definitely like if I had to pick a cover version for a mixtape,
Mm,
then Limit to Your Love. This is what I love about cover versions is often I don't know they're a cover version. I didn't know that Jose's Heartbeats was a cover version. That
no,
that
me
that that,
neither.
that was
Yeah, yeah.
and I didn't know. Often I'll hear a cover version without knowing it and love it, and then I'll hear the original. And often you prefer the original, or if you have a relationship with the new one, you prefer the new one or whatever. But Limit to Your Love by James Blake, because I think it takes the Feist original version, which is lovely, and is brilliant and is really brilliant, but it just gives it something extra special, and it really is a moment from James Blake. I mean, I could have chosen his cover of Case of You, which was so into his Joni Mitchell cover, which was so
Yeah.
fantastic. I had to actually stop the car when I was listening to that in driving around because I'm like, I, I'm thinking thoughts like this is better than the original, which you should never think about
It's
Joni
Joni
Mitchell. He
Mitchell.
was struck
Yeah.
down by the musical gods for even thinking that. But Limit to Your Love, James Blake. I mean, you know, he's more than he's not a covers band, but when he does tackle a cover in his own
Mm,
style, it's just a man who's very much at peace with his own vibe,
mhm,
and he's
mhm,
not fighting it, he's doing it. Him on the piano singing the way he sings, and then he sticks some
mhm,
sub bass in there, and it's just that his productions back then were so great,
mhm.
and it's been copied ever since like crazy, obviously, and yeah, it's just a completely brilliant reinterpretation of a track by Feist, who's also completely brilliant.
Yeah. I only found out, talking about covers that you didn't know were covers, I only found out literally a month ago that It Must Be Loved by Madness is a cover. I had no
Is it?
idea. Yeah,
I
Labby
did not
Siffredi
know
did the
that.
original. Yeah, Labby Siffredi did the original. Yeah,
Ah, well,
yeah.
good for
I
Labi
lit
Sifri then. That's nice for him. That's good.
Yeah, yeah. But they're like you say, madness of like, when you make it your own that much, you got no idea. Yeah, I only found out about a month, 6 weeks ago. I was like, that blew my mind.
Wow,
Absolutely.
that's
I've been
crazy.
listening to that song for 30 odd years. No idea it
Yeah.
was a cover version. Yeah,
Wow,
fantastic
wow.
track. Okay, and track four, Finn, is a song you wish you could play to your 18-year-old self, and
This
it.
is this was really tricky, this one,
Yeah,
because
okay.
this is how I interpreted this one, because
Mm,
it's such a brilliant setup, that question.
mm,
I interpreted it as, what would you play your 18-year-old self to kind of say, look at what is possible when it comes to making music that you didn't really think was possible when you're
yeah.
18? And I'll
Mm,
I'll expand that when you tell us
mm,
what the decision was.
mm. So
What was the track?
sorry, it was James Holden. Trust your feet.
Oh yes. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so this is obscure. Okay, I
Mm,
could have chosen, like, Fix You or something, or I don't know, some, or Skinny Love or something like
mm,
that. But if I'd have played that to my 18-year-old self, I would have said what my 18-year-old self believed at that point,
mm,
which was, the band is dead, the song is dead, the chorus is dead. Why would you listen to the same format of music that your parents listened to? It's not the
mm,
50s, and I don't listen to the Beatles. I
mm,
listen to Orbital and Aphex Twin,
mm,
in the future we don't have press shots. We have synthesizers. It was like
mm.
taking Kraftwerk to its rave
Yeah,
conclusion,
yeah.
and I considered it a political artistic revolution, and I was on the vanguard of it. So don't play me Skinny Love, because I'd have been like, dude, that sounds like, sounds like John Lennon,
Yeah,
who cares?
yeah, 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 yeah.
So I chose James Holden, which is pretty obscure, to be fair, to
Mm,
maybe to a lot of your listeners. But
mm,
he's a dance guy, but he's more than that, because, and when I was 18, I was sampling and I was making dance music, and I was obsessed with the Orb and Orbital and these early rave techno
mm,
outfits. And we had very limited equipment and no technology, no smartphones, no internet, no
mm,
laptops. And it was very much, you have to make it yourself, and some of that's making the gear yourself.
mm,
And this James Holden track is, it sums up every emotion from those days for me. And if I it's ravey, it's old school, it's now, it's futuristic. It's almost taking everything that dance music was in its inception
mm,
and making it everything that it is now, and giving you a template for the future at the same time.
mm,
And it's almost like that, this track, this album that it's from, that only came out last year, is like a study in dance music for people of a certain age, as in my age. And I would love to play this track to my 18-year-old self, to say, I know you think it's all about the bass and the snare
mm,
and the hi-hat, but listen, what you could do, if you think music, if you think
mm,
dance and music, and you put them together, you could make this.
mm.
So how exciting is that going to be in the
Oh,
future?
yeah, yeah,
That'd be lovely. And I
yeah.
don't think my 18-year-old self would have believed that making this track would have been in any way possible
Mm,
in 1990. But
mm,
when I heard this track, I was very emotional last year, because it did feel like it was written for me as a study in how
mm,
I feel about dance music. So yeah.
mm. Awesome. So what with that track choice thing, it kind of it gets answered in one of two ways. Not like the way you answered there. There's an Australian band called The Church. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them. And the singer Steve Kilby, he was episode one of the podcast, and he chose a Sigur Rós track
All
because
right.
he wanted to. He was very much a 4/4 dum ooh, baby baby rock and roll. That was what he was listening to when he was that age, and he was like similar to you. He wanted to show himself musically what the possibilities were going to be sort of in the future. And then
Yeah.
there's another way of looking at it where it's more lyrically, like Clint Boone chose "Letter to Myself" by the Lottery Winners because it's like life advice, lyrical
Yeah.
sort of life advice to your 18-year-old self. And that's
This is the
generally the
thing.
two ways that people look at that question.
Your 18-year-old self isn't going to listen to any of that advice. That's the problem. It's better to say, yeah, you're going to do all that stuff this weekend anyway. Here's a track that will enhance that and make you think a little bit harder about it, than say, here's a song about how, as an adult, I know more than you. Because
Yeah,
as a
yeah,
teenager,
yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't listen to
No,
anyone. No
same.
one. I knew everything by the time I was 18. Everything
Yeah,
there is to know, I already knew at that age. And yet, looking back, I know that I knew absolutely bugger all. But
yeah.
I don't know. That's the joy
We're
of
all in
youth,
the
isn't
same
it?
boat there.
That's
Yeah,
such a
that's it, mate.
beautiful
That is
thing.
it.
Yeah.
Track 5, Finn, is a song you would put on your mixtape to let the listener know you are romantically interested in them. Something we've all done. I've
Interesting.
done it plenty of times with a
Yeah, me
mixtape.
too.
You want to make one up and let someone know. And you chose the Horace Andy track.
Yeah. You Are My Angel.
Mm.
I mean, I could have chosen all manner of tracks because I've made all manner of these mixtapes over the years. Back then, I absolutely did. In fact, my wife, I made her a mixtape when we met.
Mm.
But it was on CD, of course, at that point. And I could have, there was a track on there by Lamont Dozier that I nearly chose. But actually, now it would be this Horace Andy track, You Are My Angel, because I love reggae. I'm a big reggae fan and I own a lot of reggae and I consider it a very holy musical spot, very uncorrupted and very true to itself, which is extremely rare in any genre of art the minute it pops its head above the trenches. So, and You Are My Angel is just Horace Andy sounding really great, absolutely savage bass line, just giving you sexy vibes, and
Mm.
his voice just says, baby, it's romantic, but it's also fun and masculine, but also vulnerable, and that's why
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. I like that question as well, because like I've had like someone chose Submission by the Sex Pistols once for that for
Nice.
that for that track, and then you get like, who did I have? And sometimes it's more subtle, sometimes it's more like sort of over, like
Barry White or something.
Donita Sparks from L7 chose Shoot by Salt and Pepper, which is like as
Right.
out there as it possibly could be. Do you know what I mean? It's one of my favorite questions to ask, that because you get a
That's a
real
good one.
insight into how the person sort of works. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, true that.
Track 6, Spin, is something a little bit left field or obscure, maybe you think doesn't get the sort of kudos it deserves, and you
Yeah,
chose Mentrix.
that's right. My Enemy, My Love, title track from her debut album, came out in 2019 or 20, no, came out 2020. Yeah, Mensch is amazing. I just did a soundtrack with her as well for Ubisoft. She's really great. And this why I chose this one as underrated was because she put this Mentrix album out on her own label in March 2020, which was the worst month in the history of music, to put a record out because of COVID.
Yeah,
All the shops were shut
yeah,
and everyone was at home panicking, and that was
yeah,
the end of that. And this track, what I really, really love about it, apart from the fact that it's challenging, and we're both big fans of The Creatures and Susie and the Banshees and people like that. We love the vibes that Budgie, the drummer, gets with the Slits and people like that. It was the fact that she brings into it her Sufi background, where the track actually speeds up. And so it's not to a click, it's all done analog, but it's called a zekra, and it just kind of starts slowly and gets faster and faster and faster and faster, and by the end you're just in a kind of trance, and then it explodes and then you're done. And that I find very challenging and very interesting, and I don't think I've heard another track like it like ever in pop music. So yeah, I think it's really underrated. So yeah, Mentrix should get more props, and the videos are crazy. You should check them out.
Yeah, I did. I was like, when we first started talking, when I hit the record button, I had to turn it off because I was watching one of the YouTube videos. Yeah, amazing artist. Yeah, fantastic. And I noticed as well, because I'm a professional. I was doing a bit of research. She sung on Hard Believer as well. Is that right?
Well, she kind of wrote a bit of Looking Too Closely,
That's
um,
the one, mate.
but she's really underrated, and I love the way that she thinks about music and art. She doesn't go for like, I'm gonna do 5 albums in 5 years. She'll do like, I'm gonna do 2 videos this year. That's all I'm gonna do, and they're both gonna be really great. That's the gig, and then I'll do an album when I'm ready to do an album, and I think that's really, 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 really awesome. It's a different way of looking at it, and it's a different way of being an artist than just write the songs and bang them out and do the tours, which is my route, which is my way. But yeah, My Enemy, My Love, it's brilliant. Check the album; it's brilliant. Yeah, I love it. Even
Absolutely.
though, to full disclosure, I produced it. Sorry about that, but
That's all right, mate. It's all right. Give it a plug. No worries. No worries.
it's not giving it a plug. I meant everything I said earlier.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I would believe it even if I hadn't produced it. But I did. Full disclosure, I did actually produce that track.
Right.
But
Cool. It's all good, mate. It's all good. So,
nice.
future plans, Finn, you've just announced your new record. Can you tell us a little bit about that, and maybe maybe track titles or album title, and where we can get that? Any sort of vinyl formats we can expect?
Yeah, man, as always in the modern age, we've over formatted, of course. There's like 9,000 different versions you can spend your money on. But yeah, we recorded it, went right back to basics, wrote 10 beautiful songs, very folky, went back to Cornwall where I was born, where I'm from, where my family is. Rented a chapel from Sam, who's the Beatles guy, and in his studio, and spent a month. Went swimming in the sea every morning, even though it was October, and recorded a really beautifully honest, true like Fink record. Because after the Hard Believer, this Perfect Darkness, Hard Believer albums, which were big in the mid teens, I went on a very artistic wander, which I'm very proud of. But maybe I was losing sight of the song a little bit and getting into other things. So it's definitely, I'm back to that, and it's very grounded and very real. And because I recorded it where I was born, it just felt really like coming back to my roots. And it's a very rootsy record, and it's called Beauty in Your Wake, which is the first song I wrote for the record, which was all about, that's the most important thing you can leave behind, is just a bit of grace. You don't have to leave anything solid behind, like they used to in the past. It's much more esoteric than that. And it's just the three of us trio. So when we locked in, we didn't have any guests or any sessions or any, if we wanted strings, we had to play them. If we wanted cellos, we had to bow an acoustic guitar, which we did all of that. And it's awesome. We absolutely love it. So it's out in July, and you can order it. You can get it now from all your usual places. You can pre-order it from the internet. There's like, yeah, fancy formats and different colorways and all that rubbish. And it's on CD, and I think we're going to do a cassette as well.
Oh, nice. Yeah, cassettes are starting to creep back in. I've noticed
I'm
that
into
lately. A few
it.
people are putting
I'm
cassettes out. Yeah, me too. Yeah,
I'm down
yeah,
for it, man. I
yeah.
actually really dig cassettes now. So
Yeah.
I that's why we're doing it on cassette, because I want
Oh,
one for my
fantastic.
my tape
Yeah,
my tapes.
I'll
But
I'll definitely be grabbing one of
yeah,
those for sure.
we're gonna tour the shit out of the album, yeah, for sure. We're gonna tour like crazy. It's obviously we're going to do our backyard first, which is a shame for everyone that isn't in our immediate backyard or
Mm,
even on the other side of the planet, like your good selves. But
mm,
we're trying to get down to Oz for like next March. We're trying. We'll let you
mm.
know. But if
Okay.
we do
Yeah.
get down there, we won't just do Sydney and Melbourne, because it's a long
Please
way.
come to
We'll
Perth.
definitely,
Please come to
that's
Perth.
the thing. We definitely want to do Canberra and Perth, and we
Yeah.
really want. I really want to play Hobart. So I
Yeah.
want
Right.
to
Okay. Yeah.
play
Tasmania's
jazz. So
beautiful.
I really want to play it. I want to play Wellington as well in New Zealand. I have never
Mm,
played over
mm,
there. So,
yeah.
it's about bloody time I got
Mm,
down there. It's been
yeah.
way too long. Like, put it
Yeah.
this way. Last time I played in Australia, Mumford and Sons weren't famous yet.
Wow. That's a
Imagine that.
long time ago.
That is
Yeah.
a
That's
long time. The whole
before I even
arc,
came to live here. Yeah. Yeah.
that's the whole Mumford and Sons arc, from Lion Man to Stadium to marrying Hollywood to disappear to
Yeah.
joining with Joni Mitchell or something. That whole
Yeah.
thing happened since I've been there.
Wow.
So the
Yeah.
last time I was there, I did Sydney Festival and Laura Marling was playing,
Oh,
and
cool. Yeah.
Marcus was the drummer in her band. And I
Oh,
remember
mate.
I went up to him and I was like, "Oh, dude, really cool." He's playing guitar and all, and banjo, and I'm like, well, "That's really
Mm,
cool." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm coming back actually with my other band next week." And I'm like, "Oh great, who's your other band?" He's like, "Mumford and Sons." I'm like, "Oh yeah, my friend Ben Howard is a big fan of you. He thinks
yeah.
Mumford and Sons are gonna be massive." And I don't get it, but good luck. And then we get to the hotel in Melbourne, and he's on MTV, and I'm like, "Dude, Mumford and Sons are gonna be massive."
That's so
So
cool. Huh.
fair enough to do. I remember seeing them in Sydney. This is in January. It was meltingly hot, like
Mm,
absolutely brutally meltingly hot, and they're all
mm.
in tweed and
Yeah.
wool,
Yeah.
all decked out like
Yeah.
Victorian country
Yeah. Yeah.
gents. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was in like as linen as you could get by that point.
You're
I
rocker,
was
mate. Yeah.
I was literally in like linen vest and linen shorts and just like dying.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I love Australia, man.
Yeah.
I can't believe I haven't been there for so long. The world's a big place, and I've got to get
I
down
don't
there.
want to. I don't want to give you a get out clause thing, but if you didn't come to Perth, I would be. I would be getting on a plane. There's not many artists that I would, but you are definitely one
Wow,
of
that's
them. I
beautiful,
would be
man.
flying across, but don't let that. Make sure you come to Perth, mate. Ben Howard's coming to Perth, I think, in May. I've got tickets for
Yeah, I
that
saw
show.
his dates. Yeah,
Really,
super
really,
jealous. Yeah,
looking forward to seeing him because I haven't seen him before. I'm a big fan of him. I've got all his records, but I've
he's
never seen him
great. In
live.
fact, his penknife Rich, who plays with him, he's the guy that hooked us up with the studio in Cornwall.
Oh, cool.
Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
we're quite close to that band. I love Ben. He's great. We toured a lot
yeah, yeah,
we
yeah,
toured a lot
yeah,
in the noughties and together, and he's awesome. And I love his new record. It's really light and just what I needed actually at this
yeah,
point.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and like we mentioned earlier, Jose Gonzalez, we mentioned earlier, he was in Perth last week or the week before, I think. He played 2 shows in Perth, same venue as Ben Howard. So yeah, it's a golden age at the moment in Perth for gigs.
What everybody else doesn't know about what we do is that I need to get a visa to come to Australia to play.
Mm,
It's not like I can just rock up with my gear.
yeah,
And that's not as easy as it used to be.
no,
And same with the
no,
States. I can't just go to the States and do a 6-week tour. I got to get in the queue for like 6 months to get a visa now, where it used to
mm,
take like 3 weeks.
yeah, right, okay,
Post
yeah, yeah,
COVID
yeah,
American
sure,
immigration.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Same with Australia. It's no joke. So
mm.
you're not going to go through all of that to just do Sydney, Melbourne, and then do Joburg and Cape Town on the way home. If you're going
Yeah, yeah,
to go through all
yeah,
that hassle of getting the visa,
mm,
you
yeah,
might as well turn it into a 2-week run and
100%, yeah,
actually
yeah,
do it. Yeah, and you know, streaming has changed everything. The digital acceleration has meant that this global village that we all thought we lived in has suddenly become an awful. It's more like a global hamlet now. We're all like in each other's pockets, like
yeah,
straight
yeah,
away. And
yeah,
so I think the artists that if you like playing live, then Australia's got like 6 gigs you can do. So do it.
mm,
Let's do
mm,
6 gigs.
mm,
Do 6 in Australia, 2 in New Zealand,
yeah,
and irrelevant of whether or not a festival pays the bills, just get down under and do it.
mm,
So
yeah,
that's why I
yeah,
want to play Hobart and Perth and Canberra, because it's
yeah, yeah,
like, everybody
mm,
plays the corner and everybody plays Sydney, and it's
mm,
like, just if make that little bit of extra effort so your fans don't have to travel so much to see you. I think it's a
sure.
beautiful thing,
Yeah,
you know.
Damien Rice is coming soon, and he's not playing Perth. He's doing Tasmania and Canberra, and he's doing like a few more out of the way places. But he's not coming to Perth. But I've seen him 2 or 3 times, so I'm not overly fussed. I'm not getting on a plane for him. But yeah, I've never seen you live, Finn. So yeah,
It's disgraceful, isn't it? I
I
mean,
know it is
that's
terrible. Yeah, I never would have let you know that before you agreed to do the interview. But that's in the bag. I can let that one out of the bag. Listen, mate, Finn, thanks so much for coming on the show. I really
pleasure,
appreciate you being so generous with your time and the touring and
pleasure, mate.
throwing with the organising and the times and everything. Really appreciate
That's
it, mate. Good luck with the new record. Hope it goes really well for you, mate. And I'll see you when you get down under.
lovely. Thanks a lot, man. I'll see
No
you
problem.
later.
Cheers, buddy. That was the Mixtape podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to jump up to the top of the page and smash that follow button, and you'll be notified every time there's a new episode. Or follow me on Instagram at the Mixtape Perth. Till the next time.